Hi, I'm the Rap Critic, and I wanted to do a little side-by-side analysis of the two Marshall Mathers LP albums, seeing that the second one just came out. Now, a lot of people are, they're not comparing the first one to the second. They're not going like, oh, was it better? They're going like, is it as good as the first one? Because, lots of people love the first one. It has the real Slim Shady on there, The Way I Am Stan. So people are like, well, how can he possibly match up to that? And I wanted to do a little comparing album thing to see, well, does it match up to that? Because I love the Marshall Mathers LP. It's one of my favorite albums. And well, does the second one match up? Well, let's look at the first one first of all, because it's not a perfect album. I found that out. Me and my friends decided to listen to it again, and really get it in our heads and see like, is this album as hyped up as we have claimed it to be, over the past 13 years or so? And it's not a perfect album. It's still fantastic. As a matter of fact, I have the track list right here. Songs like "Kill You." That's a great introduction to what his style is. Just the lyrics are just crazy. They're insane. It's perfectly what he does, and he does it well, And of course we have all the trademark sexism and homophobia. Yes, that is totally there. But, he lyrically, he's freaking impressive, and it's amazing. Especially, for someone who's just setting the bar like that, after his first album. It's like after his first album, people were like, oh, where's it going to go from there? And then his second album stepped it up even more. And at a certain point, to anyone who really listens to him, he says what he says to offend people. And that sounds very like, oh, attention giddy, but the way he does it is so witty and well put together that it's like, yeah, no, that's friggin' terrible, but it's kind of funny, so that's always been my problem with listening to Eminem in general. It's like, yeah, that was terrible what he just said, but it was cleverly put together, and but that was him doing that well. And then when you have the next song, "Stan," which is a masterpiece, no one's talking about that one. That's one of his best songs ever. And then you have "Who Knew," which expands upon. The thing about Eminem is that he's very self-aware, and that's another thing that attracts me to his music. Like, there were lots of people saying very offensive things, around that time. People were trying to shock and say all this. But the thing that made Eminem stand out was how aware he was of it. Like, it's self-aware in a way that it doesn't just feel like someone writing a song that's to be shocking. It feels like someone who's like, you're going to get mad at this, aren't you? If I say this, you're going to get angry. Man, you fell right into my trap. Because what's very funny is that people did get angry about it, and they protested it. And what he's literally saying is, it's like, well, you guys are paying attention to me. And honestly, if these kids are doing this, that, and the third, then it's like, why is that my fault? Actually, if you look at it, there were a lot of artists saying this in interviews and things like that, saying that, if you're offended by our music, or if you don't like this, why don't you do this, that, and the third. But in the music itself, a lot of artists at that time, they were just making just angry crap, just railing off on this, that, and the third. But with Eminem, there was a wit and intelligence to it that was very like, look, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm saying these things to make you angry. And since most of the people that protested it, and most of the people that protested his music at the time, well, they probably didn't really listen to a lot of it, so they didn't know in the album that he was saying, the only reason I'm even continuing to do this is because I know you're going to react to it, and it's going to help me sell a lot of records. Like, he tells you on the album. That's the funniest thing about this album. The first Slim Shady LP, that was the blind rage. That was him being angry. And the second album was him going, oh, does that make you angry? Oh, what if I do it a little more, And of course, the people reacted exactly how he wanted them to react, so it was kind of like idiots. Even though I'm telling you in the album, if you get angry, I'm going to keep doing this because that's what's selling records. So it's a sort of offensiveness that, because, there are people who say things that are offensive just to be offensive, and then it's like, that wasn't funny, that was just angry. And that's the problem with that I have with a lot of artists. But like I said, with him, there's a sense of, I know, there's a sense that it's not genuine. There's a sense that, you know, when he makes certain jokes and stuff like that, that it's like, and as a matter of fact, at the end of the album, he says, most of the stuff, I just make it up to make you mad. And, you know, it doesn't, so the awareness of it, it takes it out of the context of, this is someone who legitimately, is bashing women or is actually, you know, talking about raping his mother. Like, I'm sure he's not raped his mother for real, but it's just like, that's freaking crazy. No one would ever think to say that, and the way he presents it, and then it's just like, and then he says on the song, you know, people criticizing, oh, now he's raping his own mother. Oh God, we gave him the Rolling Stone cover, and he's like, yeah, that's right, bitch, and now it's too late. You know, it's just that sort of like, you can't stop me now. I love that arrogance and then that intelligence about it. You know, that's the thing that really draws me into his music. So, you know, Kill You is awesome, Stan's amazing, Who Knew? And then you have The Way I Am, which is just, once again, it's another masterpiece. Like, you can't say anything about it. That song was very truthful in the way it presented who he was. And I'm really glad that that was a single, because it was him saying, like, a lot of this, it was him at the time saying, you know, after his first album did really well, and then they're like, well, you have to do another one. It was him going like, how the hell am I supposed to top myself? I didn't know that. It's kind of like this sort of like, I don't know how to top myself with what my name is. I don't know how to do this. And it's just like, damn it, I did not think that this would be as hard as it was going to be. And, you know, and of course it's the like, complaining about fame, but the way he presents it, it's with such an intensity and with such anger and with such a phenomenal flow. Well, wonderfully put together. That is just, it's the moment of clarity on the album that lets you really understand everything that's going on. So we have that song, and then we have The Real Slim Shady, which is a great lead single, and which is the song, which is the example of, look, this is the lead single, and it's going to piss off a lot of people, and I know you're going to get pissed off. And what's funny is that not only are you going to get pissed off, you're still going to, you know, protest me and stuff like that, even though I told you, I want you to protest me, I want you to get pissed off. You know, it's kind of a funny, like, you weren't really listening, were you? You know, so, that song's awesome. Remember Me is amazing. The first verse by RBX is alright. The second verse by Sticky Fingers, you guys have to listen to that right now, okay? So, that's amazing. Eminem's good as well, but it's just kind of like, whoa, who was better on that song? And then we have I'm Back, which sort of continues the same, you know, I'm going to talk about a bunch of crazy crap, but it still keeps up the quality. And now the thing about it is, the reason why I say that this album's not perfect is that a little way through the album, it starts to waver a bit. The first 2/3 of the album is awesome, like no question about how good it is, but the problem is, once you get around Drug Ballad, things start to sort of taper off a little bit in terms of quality. Like, Drug Ballad, that sounds like a song that should have been on his first album. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm talking about drugs, and it's like, and I just didn't dig where it went, and the instrumentals were just kind of basic. Like, it was just like drum and bass. It's like, weren't you doing this like on your last album? And that chick who's in the song doesn't even really sing or anything like that. She just goes, and it's like, what the heck is that? So, you know, tracks 2 to 13. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, the part where the album started to go downhill was right after the Ken Kniff skit. And once again, I say that this is not a perfect album because that is the worst thing on the album. I did not need to hear that at all. Like, I'm listening to this music, and it's just like, lyrically, this guy is on top, he's doing his thing, you know, he's pissing people off, but, you know, what are you going to do about it? And then this skit comes in, and it's not funny, and the sound effects are just gross, and it's like, it's not, if it was funny in any way, and if it was saying anything in any way, I guess I might be able to give it a pass, but it's just like, I don't want to hear the sounds of, like, I don't know, what was it, Insane Clown Posse. I don't want to hear the sounds of them giving someone, like, a blowjob. Like, that's just gross. Like, I don't need to hear that, you know what I'm saying? So that skit needed to be cut. Amityville, okay, Bizarre, maybe Eminem and Bizarre are just really great friends, but I cannot stand this guy. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but, like, of all the people in D12, he gets 2 verses on this album. The one in Amityville and the one in Under the Influence. And it's just like, he's not that good. He is all of the controversy and shock horror of Eminem with none of the talent, none of the ability to put lyrics together. It's just this sort of like, I'm raping someone's mother, I guess. I stabbed my daughter. I don't know. I raped a dog and then I gave it an abortion. Like, it's just like, you don't even sound interested in this. It just sounds like, I have to say offensive things, so here I go. I'm going to say another offensive thing. You know, so it's just like, it's an interesting contrast, actually, because, you know, if these same things were being written by Bizarre, like that, if the things that Eminem said were being filtered through the same way through Bizarre, like, I would not be interested in it at all. So it's not necessarily the controversy that draws me to it. It's the way he puts the lyrics together in general. And then the sort of homophobia and stuff is just like, okay, I guess I have to deal with that. And, you know. So, yeah, I will never listen to a Bizarre album because it's just, I don't care about what he has to say. It sounds just, controversial lyrics. Like in Eminem, it's like, controversial, but then I said this, and it's like, ooh, okay, you kind of slick with it, you know? So, you have that song, and then you have the song like Bitch Please 2, which doesn't even sound like it should be on the album. It just sounded like Dr. Dre is cool with Snoop Dogg and Exhibit, and they're promoting them, and so they have to be on this album too. You know, it just felt like this should have been on, I don't know, 2001 or something like that. So that felt like a weird sort of like, this doesn't really belong on the album. And then you have Kim, which is just the tour de force of just energy and anger and just all the pent-up aggression that he's had inside of himself just being filtered and just talking about it. It's basically Bonnie and Clyde. It's the same sort of style of Bonnie and Clyde where it's like this story about me killing my wife, but it's done to this intense extreme, you know? So with the way he presented that, it's just like, after you hear that song, you're just like, whoa, you need a minute. Like, even the people who recorded the album were probably like, okay, is he okay? Should we get some water for him or something like that? You know, the problem with it is, after that, you have the song Under the Influence, which is a D12 song, and it's like, D12 is like his group, and I guess he had to have them on the album, but honestly, it's one of the least impressive songs. It's just kind of like, and especially after Kim. The album should have ended after Kim, because Kim is so up here with its energy. And then to follow that with Under the Influence, just talking about, like, if you don't like my songs, you can suck my dick. It's like, I still have to come down off of that, you know? Like, nothing's gonna match the intensity of that, you know what I'm saying? And even then, their verses sound like they were recorded somewhere else. I don't know what was wrong with the sound quality. And then you have Criminal, which at that point, like I said, you know, we've had 12 songs of just like fire and just attacking you with the idea of like what he has become in the industry. And then by the last song on the album, it's like, first of all, Kim has already set the bar too high to follow. And then it's just like, okay, I've already heard you say this. So it's like, you know, it's not really as, it doesn't pop as much. It's done by now. We're exhausted. So altogether, I rated each song on the album, and I ended up giving it a 4.9 out of 5. Like, it's phenomenal. It's 5 out of 5, you know. And so you're like, okay, well, nothing's gonna match that. So how does the Marshall Mathers LP 2 fare? Like, how does it do? Well, here's the thing. Okay, so the first song on the Marshall Mathers LP 2, it's Bad Guy. And this song is the best. It's possibly better than Stan. It's possibly better than The Way I Am. And I know that's saying a lot, but if you listen to it, because it is a lot of, let me say it like this, a lot of people when they make a sequel to an album, what they really just want to do is rest on their laurels and capitalize off of, you know, how well the first album did. That was not what Eminem was trying to do here. There's a reason why it's called the Marshall Mathers LP 2. This album is basically him saying, I'm trying to up the ante. I'm trying to do this, but even better. I'm trying, you know, so, excuse me, with the very first song in here, "Bad Guy," it's about a character. You know, it's about someone like kidnapping someone, but it goes to a place that you were not expecting, and I don't want to ruin it for you. I want you to hear it yourself, because, and don't look at any reviews talking about that song either, because they are going to spoil it for you, and I don't want to spoil it for you, because when I first heard it, it was like, oh snap, Marshall Mathers is back. So go listen to that whenever you can. "Bad Guy" featuring Sarah Jaffe is the first song on the album. So that song's incredible. Just listen to it and you will know. And the thing is, right afterwards, there's a little skit that relates to one of the songs on the first album. See, that's the thing. There are a lot of callbacks and references that you will not understand unless you know the first album. And it's not put in there as just kind of like a, ooh, you remember this, right? But they utilize it the way he lyrically just throws them in there. Then you're like, oh, you see, because I get it, you know. Like, if you're really into it, you're like, oh shit, oh, he just said that, you know. And then it goes to "Rhyme or Reason," and a lot of people don't like Eminem singing, and I kind of don't like it as much, but like it works here. I think the sample that they use here is very cool and fun and well put together. I cannot for the life of me remember what it's sampling, but I like the way he does it, and the way he responds to the chorus and then just sort of flows into the verses like that. So that song is awesome. It's amazing. So Much Better. It's another song about him talking about how much he hates Kim. At least I'm assuming it's still Kim. After like 13 years, I would like to assume that it's someone else, but it's probably still Kim. But I like, once again, you know, you can talk about anything, I personally believe, but it's all about the way you do it. And on, Encore, he had the song about how, I hate my wife, and blah, 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 I want to kill you, and she, all that stuff. But the way he did it here, I believe, is just, it's funnier. It has more energy. And it's not just complain and lament. It's like, the way he says it, like, it's like, I thought my life would be so much better if you drop dead. Like, just the way he says it, it's just like, I mean, yeah, I've had that feeling sometimes too, And especially the end of the third verse where he's just like, I wish you fucking died and then I'm gonna have a party after that. It's just like, that's sort of like, you feel that way sometimes, So, he's more invigorated on this album, especially compared to Relapse, especially compared to Encore. Those are just like lamenting and unhappy, like, With a song like this talking about it, it's so liver that it's just like, yeah, hell yeah, I get that feeling sometimes. So, those songs are awesome. And then Survival comes in. Now, I didn't really like Survival as much when I first heard it. And when you hear it with the album, it flows a lot better. As a matter of fact, that song and Berserk, I thought, by itself, I did the review and I was like, I'm not digging it as much. But when they're put into the context of the album, they do flow with it. And it like, when it comes in, you're like, okay, I'm cool with that. Like, the album was put together very well. These guys were not, once again, this man was not resting on his laurels. He was trying to top himself. And the next song on this album is Legacy, and I really like this song. Every verse starts off the same. It's like the same words, but he slightly flips it, and he keeps the same flow the whole time, but then it changes, like it delineates and becomes something else, entirely with the way it flows. So I really like the way he does that, and he relates how, when he was younger, how he started getting more into writing raps and stuff like that, and how he became more confident in himself, and stuff like that. So that comes together perfectly. I really like the way that's done. And then there's the next song, Asshole, which is really funny. Again, you have to know Eminem. I wouldn't suggest that anyone who doesn't have the first album get this album. Like, this is a companion piece to the first one. You have to know about Eminem in order to get this album. So, once again, there's a reason why he called it Marshall Mathers LP2. So, this one's talking about how, yeah, I'm an asshole. Yeah, I played my role. This is what I was kind of supposed to do. It was my calling, and I did it. And you guys responded exactly the way you were supposed to. It's this very aware. But, there are some people who do that, and I don't like the way they do that. But the way he does it is done with such intelligence and wit that it's like I can't help but go like, the guy's clever. I'm sorry, I gotta give it to him. So we have that song, and then we have Berserk, which once again I liked more now that I heard it in the context of the album. And then Rap God. Now Rap God was a very big thing when that came out. Apparently it's a single, but I doubt they're gonna make a music video for it. That song is kind of like him just going like, I'm amazing and I can just go on the flow and do this, that, and the third, and that. And it is quite incredible. My problem with it is it needed serious editing. Because there's a part where he makes a reference to like Looking Boy by Dim Franchise Boys? I don't know. So like some song from like 2007 that no one remembers except for me because, you know, I'm the rap critic. Of course I'm supposed to remember that. But like it's just this random part where the beat switches up to this dim, 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 and I'm like, what? Why is he referencing this? Like no one cares about this. What are you doing, you know? And then there's another part where he randomly delineates, he randomly goes off and starts talking about like Ray J and Fabulous and like how they were beefing for some point, and I was like, that, like it sounded like a point where he kind of like lowers his voice and is like, oh, by the way, I'm talking about this, but we're gonna edit that out later. All right, anyway, so back to the verse, and it's like that needed to go, but there's parts where he like triples the meter and just does some insane stuff that I'm like, I am never gonna be able to do that. You know, there's parts where he like doubles the rhythm and he has flows and he has lyrics that you just will not hear anyone else say. So that is incredible, but because he felt like he wanted to go on for really long, because it's like, oh, it's a 6-minute song, aha, you see, I'm flowing and they can't stop me, and it's like, yeah, but you still needed a little bit of editing there, because there were some parts that were just, I didn't need to hear that, and it took out the mastery of the song. Then there's Brainless, which is really good. Him talking about, it's another song about how, you know, him talking about how people didn't believe in him and how, you know, his mom didn't believe in him and stuff like that, and how he overcame that. And of course it's another one, but it really works. Once again, he has the energy and the intelligence and wit and pulls it off. He maintains that intelligence the whole time. That's the thing. You know, it's so easy to drop the ball, and that's what he could have done. But the whole time I'm listening to it, I feel like he was like, no, I'm not going to rest on my laurels at all. I'm trying to match or exceed what I did before. And so we have that. And then we have Stronger Than I Was. And the album stops dead. I mean, we've had 10 tracks in a row where it's just like hit after hit after hit, lyric after lyric, punchline after punchline. You're loving every single thing that comes out, and then we get Stronger Than I Was. And it's like, what the hell is this? Like, if you listen to it, it sounds like an R&B ballad by like NSYNC or something like that. Except, and you know, you listen to it and you keep thinking, when I first heard it, I kept thinking, this is gonna like change to something else, right? Like, there's no way he's making this type of song. There's no way he's going like, girl, I'm better without you. It's like, what? What is this? You know, like, it felt like it was done in a dare or something like that. But it shocked me how different it was to the rest of the album. And how just disjointed it was. Like, this should have been an extra song. This should have been on the, when you have the extra songs that you get if you buy the album, but those songs are crap anyway, because if they weren't crap, they'd be on the album. Like, this song sounds like that. And then there's a random part in it where he goes like, oh, like you hear a really, like he's singing, he's like, I'm a better person, you made me a better person. Like, he really sings it like that. And you're like, what the hell was that? Like, this has to be a joke, right? But there's no sense of irony in it. Because there's even parts where he's like, I'm fucking awesome. Like, he's just cursing and whatnot. So it's like, this isn't supposed to be a joke. He's putting his heart into this. And then randomly, where he's singing, you hear little parts in the background and him just going, oh, oh. It's if you listen to it, it's just hilarious. You're like, there's no way he wants us to take this seriously. After all the self-awareness that he's had so far, there's no way that this is real. So, you know, that song should have been cut. And keep in mind, that's the only song so far that I've said that I don't like. Then we have the next song, The Monster. Now, I don't like this one as much, but objectively, I know that it's good. Like, the beat feels like it's a little too upbeat for the topic for some reason, and Rihanna, you know, I'm okay with her. I mean, she's fine. You know, she does her job here. You know, and they've collaborated a lot for some reason. I guess they're like friends or something. I will say I like it better than I Love the Way You Lie. So this is probably, and I like it better than the Numb song, and I like it better than I Love the Way You Lie too. So it's their best collaboration, I'll say that. So even on this album, even with the song that I don't like, man, it's the best collaboration between those two. So hey, and it's gonna be the next single. So I'm looking forward to that being the hot single that people talk about, if they do. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. And then we have So Far. So Far is another one of those songs that is just, it's perfectly put together. It makes callbacks to the other songs off of the first Marshall Mathers LP, and it does it in a way. Okay, so basically the song is him pretty much just telling you how his life is going right now. And he's saying, like, this is what I'm going through, this is how I'm living right now, and this is just how I feel about the world. And it's such a, oh, excuse me, I almost knocked down the light, sorry. This is raw commentary, we give it to you real. It's so funnily put together. It's so comically well. It's fucking hilarious. Okay, I'll just put it like that. It's fucking hilarious. And if you know anything about the first album, once again, you have to listen to the first album in order to get this, because he makes jokes about how people. Damn it, I don't want to ruin it. You know what? Just go listen to it. And so it's the song is So Far. That's hilarious. And, you know, a lot of people don't like it because it starts off very weird. It has, like, it samples one song, I don't know what it is. It's not the beat with the... It's not that I'm talking about. It's the singing that he does. It sounds like Weird Al, oddly enough. But I like Weird Al, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think some people might look down on this song and see it as goofy, it's just being silly, but I feel like it fits the personality of this older Eminem who's just having a stupid, silly fucking life. You know, there's parts where he talks about, he stops at a red light or something like that, and he's like picking his nose, and some hot chicks come up to him, and they're like, oh, it's fucking Eminem picking his nose, and he's like, oh no. Like, it's hilarious freaking situations, and it fits so perfectly. It's such a great expansion onto what's going on in his life and how he's doing. So that sounds perfect. And then Love Game, which is his collaboration with Kendrick Lamar. And oh my god, if I wanted to hear two people collaborate, it was these two guys. And they pull it off. As a matter of fact, it starts off Eminem's verse, and he's telling this silly story about his relationship with this chick. And then Kendrick tops it with his story expanding upon Shireen, you know, from the Good Kid, Mad City album. Expanding upon his story with her, and where that goes is funny. And then Eminem tops that and comes with this fantastic story about this chick that he had to deal with. And it has a great little ending there that I don't want to spoil for you, just how funny it is. I don't want to, there's so much I don't want to say or show you. That's why I'm probably not going to include a lot of clips in here. It's just going to be like just me talking. So that is hilarious. I don't care what anyone says about, oh, they should have done a rap song where they went at each other. It's like, no, screw it. They don't need to do that because, you know, these guys are the leaders of the game right now, honestly. So, you know, that was awesome. And then we get Headlights with Nat Roos from Fun. And I like Fun. And I like Nat Roos' voice. So to hear that on this album, well, first of all, I was going to say, ooh, where's this going to go? Is it going to be, like, kind of corny? And then you find out it's a song about him basically apologizing to his mom. And it goes to a very somber, very vulnerable place that he's never gone to before. Apologizing to his mother for all the things that he's said in his lyrics. And saying that he loves her and that, you know, he thinks she's beautiful. And it's such a moment. It's the moment of clarity that was. It's pretty much like The Way I Am. It's like that level of clarity, that just level of vulnerability and telling you about themselves. And there's so much energy and passion and emotion in it. Especially if you know about Marshall Mathers LP1. Like if you know about all the anger and hatred that he's released there. And then hearing him on this song talk about, I'm sorry, and I realized I should have been more sympathetic to you, and I realized, yeah, sure you weren't perfect, but at least you weren't my fucking dad, right? Like that, that was the way it went, you know, and it's so, to hear that after all of this is, it was very well placed. And I wish it was the last song, but then they had the Evil Twin song, which I also liked. I still felt like it kept up the same energy, and it was him basically playing with the idea of, oh, hey, Slim Shady's back, and we're switching back between each other, and, you know, the multiple personality thing, it brings that back to the nth degree. It's awesome. So altogether, comparing both albums, I ended up giving the Marshall Mathers LP, like I said, a 4.9 because it's awesome. It is amazing for the first 11 tracks. Then you get the Kim Kniff skit, and it just kind of goes like, whoa, what the hell? You know, and then you get Kim, but by that point, it's just like, this album should have been done by now. As far as what Marshall Mathers is on par with delivering lyrically. But honestly, I think it's mainly due to the guest verses, because Bitch Please has the guest verses, and they're kind of like, Exhibit, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, it was written by Eminem, so of course that's going to be good. And then you have Under the Influence, which is like, the guys in D12 not really giving their best, and it's like, it's okay. But then I rated the Marshall Mathers LP 2, and I was trying to figure out, like, how is this going to turn out? And honestly, I liked it even more than the Marshall Mathers LP 1. I actually, you know, I give 6-star ratings to songs that I feel that, like, break the barometer or whatever, and just go like, this song is amazing, you have to listen to it right now. And other than Stronger Than I Was, which is horrible, every song here got at least a 5 or like a 6 out of 5, except for Berserk, which is like 4. And so I ended up giving this song, it like broke my scale. It got like a 5.5 out of 5. And that's like, the last album that ever did that was friggin' Illmatic, that I listened through and rated. So, you know, you guys might look at this and go like, oh, screw this guy, what does he know about rating albums? Oh, the 6-star thing, that's stupid, you shouldn't have that. But the dude did it, and honestly, I feel like this album is even better than Marshall Mathers LP 1. There's trash going by outside, sorry. And the reason why that is because on the first album, it felt like there were little compromises and little things that he just kind of, like the Bitch Please 2 song, like that didn't really need to be on there. The Under the Influence song, it felt like that was there because he needed to have the D12 song. Criminal, like in general, I just feel like that the album should have ended with Kim. Amityville, yeah, I did not like that. It was too, like, slow and kind of like, why is this here? Whatever. But with the Marshall Mathers LP 2, there was no time wasted, except for Stronger Than I Was. Other than that, there was no time wasted. Every song was him raising the bar higher and higher and higher, going like, I'm keeping this here. To match the legacy, there's a song in there called Legacy, to match the legacy of the first album. And what's funny is that he exceeded it. I think purely by trying to match it, he exceeded it. And I think that's, I gotta give him praise for that. So, me personally, you know, you guys might have thought something about it if you heard it. You know, if you disagree with it, hey, you know, talk about it, tell me why maybe. But personally, I feel like he surpassed what he was planning on doing, and that this album is awesome, and you need to go get it. And as a matter of fact, not only do you need to go get Marshall Mathers LP 2, you should probably get the first one first, honestly, and listen to it. And then let that live in you for a little while, and then get the second one. Because it's not just, once again, he calls it the Marshall Mathers LP 2 for a reason. He calls it that because, you know, you've been on this journey with me, and this is how I've completed that journey since then. You know, there's a lot of stuff on here about him acknowledging his double standards with women and his daughters, and saying that, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, I understand that, you know, I talk about women all the time, but I talk about my daughters as if they're these perfect things that can never, you know, do any harm. Yeah, I'm kind of messed up for that. You know, he doesn't change it, unfortunately, but he kind of, there's even more acknowledgement and even more maturity and even more of him, you know, telling you what he's going through and being brutally honest about it. So I appreciate that, and I applaud that, because it takes someone to not only step up the lyrical game, because there are metaphors upon lyrics that are just interwoven and so just, if you just listen to Bad Guy, I swear to God, if that song doesn't sell you on how awesome this album is going to be, I don't know what to say to you. But just listen to Bad Guy, and you will want to listen to the rest of this album. So, bravo, Mr. Marshall Mathers. Marshall Mathers LP2, go get it at your soonest convenience. Especially if you have the first one. But the second one's so good, you need to retroactively get the first one and then listen to the second one. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I'll catch you guys later.